What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting episode of TV. Centers for Disease Control. Man, why are the employees resigning from the Centers of Disease Control? Well, we all started to distrust and lose trust in the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC. So this guy right here is going to give a breakdown of where that trust first began, where that loss of trust first began. Let's get into it.
Okay, let me make it very clear why we can't trust the CDC. Because the head of the CDC in 2020 came out and said, if you get the jab, you won't get the virus. Everybody heard that? Is that clear? That's why I don't trust the CDC. Just on that point alone. I don't care about anything else they say or do. And that's my decision. I do not trust the Center for Disease Control after what they did in 2020. And they were the ones who were pushing all the regulations, the masking, the stand 6 feet apart. You got to get the jab to go to this job, that job. All of that was being advised by the Center for Disease Control. There's a whole lot of things they did during that period of that virus that caused them to undermine their own credibility and their own trust. And anybody that doesn't understand that, just go do some reading about it. And it was only 5 years ago. It ain't even that old. Then you said Trump paid for COVID research and vaccines. Why do you keep trying to connect it to Donald Trump?
So this young man right here said that we all lost Trump in the CDC. We all lost trust in the CDC 5 years ago. That was 2020. Do you remember what happened in 2020? If you do remember, tell us down in the comment section. Because I think some people forgot. You remember the C-19, that whole movement? They had everybody running to get masks. They had everybody running to get vaccinations. Come to find out, none of that was needed. They exaggerated a lot of things when it came to the vaccination, how protective it was, how it would prevent the spread of C-19, and also how important it was for children to get it or not get it or whatever there was just a whole big mess about that whole situation, man. So shout out to the CDC for manipulating all of us. But today, in today's news, this is what's going on.
Leaders above us to believe in CDC.
Hang on just a second. Let me get this video set up for you guys. I got this morning, and this is what's breaking news. This is what's been happening and why the fallout after White House says it fired CDC director. So some are resigning. Well, first, the director got fired. Can't think of her name right now. And Susan Menarez, she got fired. And after that, the rest of the CDC employees, they all resigned in a means to revolt against her being fired and to protest against the new CDC director, which was coming in, and his name is Jim something. We'll get to it. They're going to break it down for you. Let's start this video.
Good morning to you. And this sudden shakeup has prompted a standoff at the CDC. Susan Menarez says she will not resign, but the White House already moving to install a temporary replacement, a top ally of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This morning, the White House tapping HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill to
Jim O'Neill will be replacing this lady, Susan Menarez. Now, I don't know much about Jim O'Neill. I'm going to have to do more research on that before I could bring you more information on him. But Susan Menarez, I don't know much about her, but my quick little research tells me that she's very, very liberal-minded. We're going to get into that later on because she's still allowing certain pronouns to be used, and her her thinking is more liberal. Just for example, when it comes to who can have a baby, who can get pregnant, is it male or female? It seems like we would be able to come up with an easy answer to that. In my opinion, in my experience, I believe that only females can become impregnated. Now, if we were to ask Miss Susan Menares that same question, she'd probably be like, well, if a male, born male, took the medication and they identified as female, and they went through the gender changing process of the hormonal pills that we ingest to take the shot and get the operation, the gender transition, completely making them transgender, then just maybe they could have a baby. And we say, well, Miss Moranes, for the person that's able to get impregnated, is that a male, a female, a she, a he, a woman, a man? Well, I don't like to call them women or men. We just like to say people can get pregnant. Yes, people can be impregnated. What in the sugar honey iced tea is she talking about? What in the HE double hockey sticks is she talking about? Thank God for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Thank God for this man, Mr. Jim O'Neill. Let's get back and see what he has to say.
Rarely lead the CDC, as the Trump administration claims to have fired Director Susan Menares, who was sworn in just last month.
Susan is an expert in public health.
Menares denies she's been fired and refuses to resign. The nation's
She refuses to leave and denies that she's been fired. You just saw RFK say that she's an expert in public health. She probably is. But it's just a twisted, diabolical mindset of the liberal, the extreme left that's getting her fired only after 1 month of being on the job. Trump appointed her a month ago, so she has to be good at her expertise. But it's just the liberal ideologies mixed in with that can become dangerous. So dangerous to where she lost her job.
top public health agency left reeling. Dozens of workers walking out yesterday, 4 top officials resigning in protest.
We need our leaders above us to believe in CDC and stop saying question the experts.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been looking to remake the agency.
There's a lot of trouble at CDC, and it's going to require getting rid of some people over the long term in order for us to change the institutional culture.
Kennedy, a known vaccine skeptic, is seeking to overhaul the nation's vaccine policy. Kennedy insisted Menares get on board with his changes, but Menares' lawyers say she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts.
See, she refused to change the things that RFK was asking her to change. RFK he's strongly against vaccines. If you know anything about vaccines, if you've done any research on vaccines, you would understand why. Vaccines don't mix well with certain genetics in certain people. It don't matter if it's male or female. It's just every human being has something a little bit different with the inside of their body, their genetic makeup. So there's some kids, some vaccines have been linked to kids having autism. Some vaccines have been linked to some kids having Down syndrome. There's been kids that's been vaccinated and haven't been able to speak since. So there's something extremely wrong with a lot of these vaccines that we're getting. There's a vaccine for certain STDs out here that you could receive. And they have a vaccination that could prevent it. Why are they shooting these vaccines into newborn children fresh out of the womb? Do a little bit of research on your vaccines and you can find this information easily. They're giving newborns vaccines for STDs fresh out of the womb. Why would newborns need vaccines for STDs? The very first hour on earth. I mean, it sounds crazy. And if you can explain it better than me, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section to educate the people that are watching and tuning in to Unk TV. While you at it, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so that you can stay up to date with what's going on in society in 2025 over here at Unk TV. That's what we try to do, keep you informed and keep you ahead of the curve, keep you ahead of the game so where you won't fall for these things.
Former acting director of the CDC, Dr. Richard Besser, saying Menares was standing up to Kennedy.
There were two lines. One is that she would never do anything that was illegal, and the other was that she would never do anything that flew in the face of science. And she was being asked to do both of those things.
Menares' lawyers say only the president can fire her, and she still hasn't heard from him. The White House insisting he has fired her because she is not aligned with his mission. And Jim O'Neill, the person that the White House has tapped to serve as the interim director, says that he does support vaccines, but not vaccine mandates.
So that's what's going on with the CDC, a strong ally of the HHS. What was his name? Jim O'Neill. They brought him on as the new director of the CDC. So that's what's going on over there at the CDC. And there's a lot of questionable things going on at the CDC. It's so many of them, I don't even know where to begin. But it looks like it's a clash of beliefs is what's happening right now. You got a lot of powerful, intelligent people in powerful places pushing certain agendas out to the public and out to the people. And Trump and RFK Jr. will not go for it. They're not going to stand for it. They're going to shut all of it down. All of it. So they had this conversation on CNN. You know that I love my boy Scott Jennings.
Their heart to their expertise to safeguard it.
He spoke on it. And when it comes to Scott Jennings, you know me, I really believe that Scott Jennings, his word is bond, word is bond, word is bond, word is bond. We got Scott Jennings right here, man, on CNN having a debate with these liberal left, extreme left ideologists, Democrats. Here's what they had to say. Check this out. This is finna get exciting.
This is stuff that affects real people's lives. Vaccines,
We're in National Immunization Awareness
immunization.
Month.
I hear
For
the
goodness
criticism
sake.
of this person. I just have to say, he did use the term pregnant people in his resignation.
Oh, come
letter.
on.
And
Come
I'm
on.
sorry, if that is
That's
like,
a rude.
I think
if that
that's
is like the
prevailing
way you're,
view.
if that is like the way you're presenting
prevailing
information,
view
I
at
have
this table
questions about your credibility.
Is
that's-
that
that-
Scott?
that's a
it's like
ruse.
it's so amazing.
It's not
that
a ruse. He
It's a
wrote
ruse.
it down.
We are
It's a
talking.
ruse
We are
because people
talking
are
about.
This guy's not
People
credible
have
to me. That's all I'm
already
telling you.
Scott, are
already
you
did.
serious?
Come on.
Look, he is not credible.
No. Are you serious that this is
Yes, he did write it.
that of all the things that we're talking about here, immunizations, vaccines, autism,
Measles outbreak,
research
worse than 30 years.
about on communicable diseases, on cancer, and you are the most concerned about someone's use of the word people.
Yeah, because
That's the most important thing
because
to
you were
you.
just complaining about the politicization of science,
That's
and
not
I can't
politicization.
think of
That's not-
politicization of science
that's
more
not
than that,
politicization.
or of what some of these people
So-
said
come
to the
on,
American
Scott.
people during
Come
COVID.
on.
So the credibility of some of these folks who.
I just want to say that is the politicization of science. That's exactly what it is. Who can get impregnant? Who can get impregnated? A male or a woman? Or is it people? You have to be female to get pregnant. And that is the politicization of science when you start adding terms like people into there. Words do matter. When you put words in certain atmospheres, it can cause a lot of confusion. Of course, liberal, left-minded people are going to try to blow it off like it's nothing, but you cannot skip over that. Me personally, I wouldn't want my personal doctor thinking like that. If I went to my personal doctor and he was using terminology like that, I would question his practice and I probably would find me another doctor. You're not going to be in there operating on me, assuming that I could get pregnant. That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly with me. I would question his mindset and what he thinks and where he comes from. I mean, how he was raised and what's his thoughts. I would just get away from him until I did more research. I wouldn't allow him to practice on me. I am a man. I cannot be impregnated. I strongly believe that only women can be impregnated. So I would find somebody who thinks along the lines that I do, because the other way, I don't want to tell you what I really think of people who believe certain things like that.
Are complaining. Look.
Okay, so
Well, I'm complaining, and I'm a public health and preventive
credibility.
medicine physician. We
Talking
in the
about law and
NAACP
order.
are complaining, right? And we are an iconic civil rights and human rights organization. There is reason to complain, Scott. You have a person who, during his confirmation hearings, said that black people had a different immune system, that we should follow a different immunization schedule. You have a person who has spent his life undermining science, credible science. The people who walked out of the CDC, the people who resigned, these are not flippant folks. These are not people who did this on the slight of a turn. These are people who dedicated their livelihoods, who dedicated their hearts and their expertise to safeguarding the health of all Americans. And now we are compromised, not just from a health and well-being standpoint, but from a national security standpoint. What's going to happen when the next outbreak
let me just real
pandemic
quick
arrives in the
play this
United
because
States?
Scott seems to think that RFK Jr., who says things like this, is more credible than
I didn't
people
say
who
that.
have degrees
I literally didn't say
in the
that. Why do you
subject.
say
But
things I
watch,
didn't say?
but watch,
Why are you
watch
saying I
this
said
clip.
that? I didn't say that.
When I was a kid, and I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements, and from their lack of social connection. And I know that that's not how our children are supposed to look.
Science. Hashtag science.
What was wrong with what he just said? RFK Jr. looks to be every bit of 65 or better. He has children. I'm pretty sure he has nieces, nephews, he has family. He was a child once himself. I can look, and that's just an anecdotal examination of what he sees when he walks outside his door. Everyone can see, I can see a lot of changes going on in 2025. This happened in the past 5, maybe 10 years, or even further. Because not only are you seeing the children more weaker, their immune system's more weaker, they're sicker, they're on more medication. A few years back, a few decades back, you didn't hear about Down syndrome as much. You didn't hear about ADHD as much. You didn't hear about autism hardly at all. And that's those are the bigger symptoms. But the things that RFK is talking about are kids are more fragile. They're more weak. Not only kids, but the men. You hear women nowadays, every once in a while, you'll see a woman on social media say that men are more effeminate. They see it. They see it. Just like RFK sees it. What was wrong with him saying that I see a difference in the children now than the children of yesteryear, you know? So let's see what she has to say, if she gets to say it, because I don't see anything wrong with what he said.
And this is why Ajiz Shah said, this is wacky flat earth voodoo stuff. Please, Peter Hotez, please send a few introductory biology textbooks to the Department of HHS. I mean, look, the reason, Scott, I said what I said is because rather than you seriously answering a question about the real concerns that were raised by these officials about the bending of science to the will of that guy, you decided that the most important thing to you was their lack of credibility because they used the word people. I mean, I just think I understand the rhetoric and the political.
You realize that you're accepting some politicization of science, but not others, right?
What's the politicization of science that's been accepted?
Can men get pregnant or not?
Scott,
we're talking
in the
about
CDC,
we're talking about
I'm saying
we're
you're not
talking
a terribly
about
credible
the
person.
CDC that's responsible for the health and well-being of the
that
nation.
has absolutely nothing.
Nothing
to do
to
with
do.
the
It
conversation.
does, because
does not.
it's a question of whether your
That
scientists
has
are going to politicize or not, and you accept
absolutely
some and not
nothing
others.
to do with the conversation that we are having.
That's just the
I disagree.
It's
It's a
hard
credit.
on
It's a
his segment of
It's a
Twitter.
credit.
That's
It's a
the
credibility.
Why would we do that when people have died in our dying? Why would we do that when
It's
people's
hard to
children
have a
are being
conversation
dehumanized?
in this country about real things when everything just becomes about buzzwords
Or political
and
products.
I don't understand why you're
and I just have to say,
rejecting
like,
this criticism of someone's
because
credibility.
I think that what matters to people in their homes is whether or not they know what immunizations their child should have, which, by the way, immunizations have saved so many lives of children
I'm not disagreeing with you about that. I agree.
What matters to them
Through the
around the
decades.
world is not what words are being used
I think it does
by
matter,
people.
because it tells me what kind of
but
person
it is whether or not they can trust that the guy who's making decisions about their health actually knows what a mitochondria is.
Yes, and when we focus.
Certain immunizations have helped saved a lot of lives in the past and up to the present. You know, she's right about that. But when you have someone that's working in the position and the head of the position, Centers for Disease Control, it's all about your health. So if they have a twisted mind to where they believe that people can have children, male or female, any gender, either or can have children. When you have someone with a twisted mindset like that, that's dangerous to me. That's my opinion. I think Scott Jennings agrees with me these ladies are trying to brush it off as a something minor because they're looking at their education and their intelligence is greater than that thought or that ideology, but it's dangerous. These are the people that are over our health. So if they have a twisted mindset like that and they're giving these shots to newborn children within the first hour of being born, which they call vaccinations, they could be on some mad scientist type stuff, man. Just to be blunt about it, there's no other way to put it. They could put something inside of the vaccinations that they've created that could twist the hormones to try to create a person or people that could be impregnated. Strictly men that could become impregnated. They're trying to create, it's like a mad scientist type of thing. And if they don't get that, and I don't think Scott Jennings can explain it without saying what I just said. You got a mad scientist working inside of these labs, and they're the head of the CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control, and the National Health Organization over what's getting put in your vaccinations, what's getting put in your foods, what's getting put in everything. They have control over us and what we ingest. And I agree with Scott. I don't want anyone in that position that will be able to speak over what's getting put in my body, in my foods, or in the vaccinations that I could be convinced to take. Or parents can be convinced to allow the doctors in the hospitals to shoot up in their kids. Oh, this is just a vaccination for such and such. Trust us. Skeet, shoot that right inside of your infant child. Lord, pray for this nation, man. We need more people that think like Scott. We need more people that think like RFK. And thank God for Donald Trump and the Trump administration. And we need less people like these ladies that's on the panel speaking in cahoots with the sick-minded individual that believes that people can be impregnated. That's dangerous. I agree with Scott. Get them out of there and put somebody in there with a logical, rational, traditional way of thinking. My God.
On, imbecilic things such as that. That's why people are then subject to misinformation and disinformation, and they resort to violence, Scott. There was just it's not violence. This is not a laughing matter. There was a shooting at the CDC. A police officer is dead. There are people rejecting the fact that people are being kidnapped. I think yes, Scott.
I might have to rewind this. Because did this lady just say that I don't know if I heard her right. Let me rewind this, man. I don't think I heard her right. She's doing a lot of speaking and not making any sense to me. A lot of talking and nothing's coming out.
Or to violence, Scott. There was just a police. It's not violence. It isn't.
It tells me what kind of person
it is whether or not they can trust that the guy who's making decisions about their health actually knows what a mitochondria is.
Yes, and when we focus
What's a mitochondria? Leave it in the comments.
Things such as that. That's why people are then subject to misinformation and disinformation, and they resort to violence, Scott. There was just a police. It's not violence. This is not a laughing matter. There was a
misinformation and disinformation leads to violence. You're exactly correct. Just like the Minneapolis shooting that we were just looking at that Catholic school shooting children. Misinformation and disinformation had this man confused about his identity. He was confused about his gender. He was angry at blacks. He was angry at Latinos. He was angry at Trump. He was angry at himself. He had markings on his gun that was written in Russian that told him to do certain things that were evil, that were bad. He's a prime example. He could possibly be the after effects of a lot of these science experiments that these mad scientists have been initiating in the CDC. He could very well be the aftermath or the effects of the science experiments that's being conducted on people. If you ever notice, by the time we get the news and we start talking about it, it's already been happening. They've already been experimenting. They've already been testing. They've already been preparing these things 3, 4, 5 years before we get the news and start speaking about it. By the time we get the news and speak about it, it's because we notice, dang, look around. People are going crazy. Weird stuff is happening. People don't look the same. RFK Jr., the kids don't look the same. That's the surface level things that we see. That's the things that we see in the beginning. And it takes years later for other rational minded scientists, the ones that's being left in the dark, because the ones that know and that can speak about it, which they start calling whistleblowers, they catch on later on because they keep them in the dark because they don't want to be stopped. They want their agenda to grow. They want their agenda to live. They want their agenda to be written down in history. Totally agree with Scott. And he seems to be outnumbered. That's the sad part. And oh my God, I don't even want to get into who's outnumbering him and all. It is dangerous. It is crazy. This is what we got to face. And these are so-called intelligent people.
Shooting at the
There's
CDC.
attacks on ICE agents
A
every day.
police
Who's responsible
officer
for that? You
is
seem to
dead.
reject the
There,
idea
there
that
are
violence
people
was being
rejecting the
incited
fact
before.
that people are
Now you're
being
blaming this
kidnapped. I think
it is
Scott.
cherry pick these things
Hold on
like
a second.
crazy.
cherry
Hold
pick.
on a
Biggest
second,
cherry
Scott.
picker
There's nobody
on
who is
television.
justifying attacks against ICE officials. And nobody should justify or diminish somebody shooting hundreds of bullets
I'm not.
into a
It's
workplace
terrible.
where people
Where people are trying to
doing
save
public health.
lives. Where people
I
are
agree with
practicing
you.
public health.
I'm not
So
for any
I don't
violence.
understand why that would even be a comparison that you would make, honestly.
Because it's a great way to not answer the question.
Well,
Exactly.
no one
knows an
excellent way. Guys, we're way over our time here.
What question? Thousands of doctors,
What question?
hundreds of thousands of doctors who probably don't use words that you don't like, who agree on the science.
With her strong jawline, she looks like she might be, I can tell, by her standpoint, you could tell she agrees with what's going on. People having children, people being impregnated. She looks like one of those people that could possibly get impregnated. Look at that jawline. Her head is just as big as Scott's. She's speaking up for it. She's passionate about it. Look at her. Look at the expression on her face. She wanted them too. Transgender.
Science is settled when it comes to autism and vaccines. They have nothing to do with each other.
Definitely.
Less than 1% of scientists suggest that there might be a link.
You seem to be very angry with me. I fundamentally agree with you.
No,
All right.
no, but why do we have to get derailed by this political BS when you could just say,
Because-
yeah, that's garbage and we shouldn't politicize
Because some
science.
scientists are allowed to politicize things and
No,
some aren't.
no.
And it depends on your politics, and that's how
That's
we
not
do it.
true.
That is
That's not
very
true.
much.
He basically said it right there, broke it down, and they said that that's not true. And Scott Jennings, I believe that it is true. He's not just up there saying things just to be saying it. And I know what he's saying. If you're Democratic and if you're left leaning extreme left leaning, and you believe that people can be impregnated instead of men or woman can be impregnated, then you get to have your say. You get to say certain things. But if you're Republican, if you think conservative, if you have a traditional mindset and you believe that only women can get pregnant, they're going to hush you. And these women are sitting here at this table and saying that that's not true. Why is this so unbelievable for these people? I don't understand it, man. So we have Trump's press secretary. She had something to say.
For the firing of Miss Monterez, one of the...
And I love this lady. She's very, very good at what she does. Trump picked a perfect lady to get on her and give these people the business. She's straight up giving them the blues, man. So we're going to get this video prepared, man. Let's tune in.
I understand there were a few other individuals who resigned after the firing of Miss Monterez. One of those individuals wrote in his departure statement that he identifies pregnant women as pregnant people. So that's not someone who we want in this administration anyway. So if people are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm going to have to rewind that and let her speak again. Thank you for Donald Trump and his administration for putting these laws in place, man. There's only two genders, male and female. Only one gender can get impregnated, a female. I don't want mad scientists as the head of these labs with this type of ideology. Why is that so difficult for people to understand? Where's the hang up? What am I not getting? Man, shout out to the press secretary, man. I can't think of her name right now. Hang on just a second. I can't think of her name right now, man. Shout out to that press secretary. People cannot have kids. I don't understand where this ideology is coming from. It's coming from the extreme left. I know where it comes from. But shout out to Trump press secretary, man. I got this video I want to play of her right now. She rocks, man. She rocks. She rocks, man.
Month, the Department of Defense was made aware of...
She totally rocks. Man, we rock with this lady, man. Oh my God, man. Let her smoke one for the press secretary of the Trump administration. She broke that down beautifully. There's no other way to explain that, man. There's no other way to explain that, man. There's no other way to explain it. So on this day, right here, at the first of this year, President Trump has ordered employees at multiple federal agencies to remove pronouns from their email signatures by 5 p.m. today or face an apprentice-style firing. CDC employees received an email saying pronouns and any other information not permitted in the policy must be removed from the CDC ATSDR employee signatures by 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Oh my God. That was January 31st of this year, 2025. It says right there that this is beautiful, folks. Thank you, Donald Trump. I salute Donald Trump and the Trump administration for coming in and doing what they need to do to get things straightened out, man. Because oh my God, this world was backwards. It was behind backwards. It was rear end backwards, man. Thank you, Donald Trump, for that, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. Firing of the CDC director, Susan Menarez. Confirmed by the Senate as CDC director in July 2025 was abruptly removed in late August, just 1 month. She resisted the directive to approve changes to C-19 vaccine policy and to dismiss senior scientific staff. Action she deemed unscientific and unlawful. Her attorneys have questioned whether her dismissal was valid, noting that only the president can remove a Senate-confirmed official. So, in response, several high-ranking officials resigned in protest. I don't want to name all of them, but there's a few of them. So Jim McNeil, a deputy at the HHS and ally of RFK Jr., has been named acting CDC director. Lawmakers, including Senator Bill Cassidy and Bernie Sanders, are demanding hearings and cautioning against upcoming vaccine advisory meetings being rushed, emphasizing the need for congressional oversight. Experts warn the upheaval could affect vaccination guidance, disease monitoring, and public trust, especially concerning as flu and respiratory virus seasons approach. So y'all be careful with this flu virus and all of that, because they're going to be rushing. They want to try to rush vaccinations into the public. So the CDC is losing key leaders because they say the agency's scientific integrity is being compromised by political interference, particularly around vaccine policy. This crisis has sparked protests, resignations, and urgent calls for oversight. So with the CDC losing key leaders because they say the agency's scientific integrity is being compromised and they're being replaced, this crisis has sparked protests, resignations, and urgent oversight. So, man, with that being said, I'm glad that it's sparking protests, right? Because the people that have been in there that we've trusted for so long, they're leaving, they're resigning, they're being pushed out because they have, in my opinion, sick ideologies, sick thoughts, and sick oversight. And they're pushing this stuff. They're being trusted to run the Centers of Disease Control. And they're pushing this stuff out into the public and into the people. They're allowing their political beliefs to infect the integrity of the Centers for Disease Control. They need to be moved. They need to be pushed out. Bring in new people that Trump and RFK trust to have the integrity and the thought process enough to at least believe that men are men and women are women, and you can't cross the two. So whoever they bring in new, like Jim O'Neill, he's the head, the new head of the CDC. I don't know Jim McNeil. I don't know anything about him. I will be doing research on it, and I will bring it to you guys over here at TV. But right now, I have full confidence in Trump, the Trump administration, and RFK Jr. They appointed him. They put him in there. They saw flaw in the last person. They put Jim McNeil in there. And right now, I'm trusting him. So any vaccine that he brings out, I'm trusting it. Anybody that he puts in place of the people that resigned following behind Susan, what was her name? McGowan or McGonovan or McGonzes or whatever it is. Whoever he puts in place of the individuals that walked out behind her, I trust them. And I think that you should too. Y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so that you can get updated on the latest videos coming out from TV. With that being said, see you next time. We're out.